So Politicon is coming up in just a couple weeks here. Politicon is going to be quite the political spectacle, if you will. There's a ton of left-wing hosts who are going to be there this year, a lot more than last year. So it's honestly kind of surprising, but the Young Turks are going to be repeats there. They're going to be returning. But on top of that, other lefty pundits are also going to be there. You're going to have Kyle Kalinske there. Sam Cedars going to be there, as well as David Pakman. Now, there were a few little hiccups with Politicon, and they need to work to fix this, where they need to have it set better to where they know who they're going to have the events more organized and scheduled on time, because essentially there were these it's like 2 weeks left, and David Pakman didn't know who he was going to debate until today. We have found out who he's going to be debating, and he explains that here.
Talk about
Yeah.
that. What are you doing at Politicon?
I have no idea.
You have no idea.
I think I'm on anytime that there's like something huge going on, like for example when Cenk is debating Tucker Carlson, that's when I'll be scheduled to do a really obscure 6-person panel in the basement of the building. So that's my schedule for Politicon.
Yeah, so he literally didn't know who he was going to debate, and this is actually something that I saw online. He hasn't even announced this yet, but according to Politicon's website, it looks like he's going to be debating Roaming Millennial. Now, I'm sure you guys know who Roaming Millennial is. I've just made a response video to her video talking about. She basically defended Dave Rubin from the things that Anna Kasparian said about him, because there was a lot of beef brewing there, and Anna Kasparian just absolutely went in on Dave Rubin, because Dave Rubin is a sellout, he's a fraud, etc., etc. Now, here's the thing. So he's going to be debating Roaming Millennial. Now, here's the thing. So I still don't know who Ben Shapiro is going to be debating, but I mean pretty much all of the left-wing new media figures are out of the question to my understanding. I don't know if we know who Anna's going to be debating or not, but if she isn't, I mean, I think she's the only new media left-winger that we're in our progressive sphere that is really has a vacancy or is able to actually do a debate with Ben Shapiro, because we know that Cenk Uygur is going to be debating Tucker Carlson. That's probably going to end up being the headliner. I think that's going to be the headline event, because I think here's what I think if Dave Rubin wasn't a coward and he actually took up Anna's offer to have a debate at Politicon, I think that would have actually been the headline. But obviously, it seems to be the case that Dave Rubin is a massive coward, and so despite him claiming that he's all about the free exchange of ideas and all about free speech and discussing ideas, good ideas, big ideas, all kinds of ideas, right? Loving ideas, right? We love ideas. Let's talk about them, except for when Sam Cedar and Anna Kasparian want to have a debate, you duck like a little bitch. That's essentially what it is. But anyways, I just want to say that I think that would have been the headliner, but it looks like Cenk Tucker Carlson's probably going to end up being the headliner. That's going to be a pretty fucking big debate. Now, you can think of that what you will. Now, we know that Kyle Kalinske will be debating Ann Coulter. That's not Ben Shapiro. Sam Cedar is going to be debating Charlie Kirk. Now, we know that the Sam Cedar-Charlie Kirk debate is pretty much going to be a big dumpster fire of a debate, because it's essentially like somebody who knows his shit in opposition against Charlie Kirk is literally the meme of memes. He is the king of memes. He is the biggest meme on the entire planet. He's so embarrassing. Basically, he has like these pictures of himself, and then Turning Point USA, which is an organization that he founded, I guess using like Koch brother money, he posts these pictures that are supposed to be like these pictures of him saying things, and people put in their own quotations, and it's so hilarious because some of them are so stupid, but you can't even tell if they're real or not. Like, you don't know if they're, like, one of them was so dumb. It was, I think he said something like, all the Indians own the casinos or something like that. and you can't tell if that's real or not. Like, I can't tell if that's real or not. Same thing with the if schools aren't biased, why do conservatives constantly get lower scores than liberals? Like, that's a huge self-own. That is a huge self-own, a ginormous self-own. He is the king of memes, okay? Charlie Kirk is the meme lord, the meme god. So the fact that that debate's even happening is just going to be the most lopsided debate ever to be had in all of history. But then Kyle Klinsky and Coulter, that'll be an interesting one. It'll be a sort of weird dynamic because Ann Coulter is not really a fan of neoconservatism, at least in the form of anything but the wall. She's all about the wall. She's essentially a one-issue person. That's pretty much all she cares about is the wall. And so it'll be interesting because I don't think that she's going to fall into the trap of defending or propagating neoconservative ideas, positions, or policies. So that'll be something interesting. But anyways, so we found out Kyle's not going to debate Ben. We know Cenk's not going to rematch Ben. And we know that Sam isn't going to do it because he's debating Charlie Kirk, which sucks because a Sam and Ben debate would have been great. Although I would have preferred David. And now David is going to be the one who is debating Roaming Millennial. So he's not going to be debating Ben Shapiro. So first, I'll first talk about why it's a disappointment that this is happening. And then I'll go on and say, it's not that bad. Anyways, first, it is disappointing that David Pakman isn't debating Ben Shapiro because David Pakman and Ben Shapiro have already debated, and I thought David did a really good job. I think a lot of people thought that. I think most people thought that. And I really do think that he would have matched up very well, on the other side against him. And so essentially I figured that it would be a really good matchup between David Pakman and Ben Shapiro, but it's abundantly clear at this point that that's not going to happen because he's instead debating Roaming Millennial, which is a disappointment, obviously, because I think that the prospect of a David and Ben debate would be far better. It would be much more engaging. It would be much more entertaining, and it would be quite a spectacle for sure. So it is most definitely a letdown, a huge letdown, by the way, that none of the three, not Kyle, not Sam, or David, none of them are going to actually end up debating Ben Shapiro this year. But the Politicon's not going to die this year. They're going to do more Politicons, so it'll definitely happen eventually, I'm sure. Because I'm going to assume they're going to come back unless they're unsatisfied, which we'll see how that goes. But anyways, let's preview the debate between David Pakman and Roaming Millennial. This will be something it'll be somewhat interesting because Roaming Millennial is a conservative, but what she talks about rarely actually has to do with serious debates on the real policy positions. Even if she speaks on actual policy positions, it's often just sort of gimmicky little talking points that don't actually deal with any like details. And so it'll sort of often be like just regurgitating points, like little points, instead of getting into the actual details of how much this proposed plan costs and how much would this save and how many people and what provisions, etc., right? So most of her videos honestly end up being about SJWs or feminists or that kind of stuff, right? She's more in that realm of anything else. So I find it sort of weird that this is going to be a debate in the first place because, if this ends up being a debate in which is what I'm assuming it's going to be because they both agree that SJWs, social justice warriors and stuff, they sort of agree on that issue. David's not really much of a fan of them. But it just, I don't know, like it's going to be a stomping. Does anyone honestly believe, and you're wrong if you do, by the way, that David Pakman knows less about real policy issues, policy positions than Roaming Millennial does? There's no way on planet Earth that that's the case. So this debate, not only is it a letdown that David's not debating Ben Shapiro, but it's like, this isn't really going to be all that interesting because what are they going to debate on? Like the healthcare policy, taxation, Like what are they going to debate? Trump? I mean, I don't know what they're. I mean, Trump's policies. I mean, what are they going to debate? You know what I mean? So it's not only just a letdown the fact that they aren't, that the David and Ben Shapiro debate didn't actually pan out, but it's also going to be a letdown because this debate isn't going to be all that great. It's not going to be all that interesting. But here's the thing. I want to know what you guys think about this. So let me know down below in the comment section how you feel about this. What is going to be the nature of the debate? Let me know.